everyone, and welcome back to English Uncovered. I'm Peter, your host and friendly guide through the twists and turns of real-world English. I'm really happy you're here today because we're diving into one of the trickiest and most powerful parts of the English language, phrasal verbs. You know, those funny little combinations like give up, look forward to, or run into that seem to pop up everywhere but somehow never mean exactly what you expect. Native speakers use them without thinking, but for learners, they can feel like quicksand. The more you struggle, the deeper you sink. But here's the good news. Once you understand how phrasal verbs work, they become one of your biggest allies in sounding natural, fluent, and confident. Think about it. Phrasal verbs are everywhere. Movies, songs, casual chats, work meetings, even text messages. You might not notice them at first, but once you start paying attention, you realize they shape how English feels. They give it rhythm, emotion, and texture. Mastering them is a true game changer. They don't just help you sound more natural, they help you understand others better. Suddenly, when you're watching a movie and someone says, "Come on, don't give up now," you don't have to pause and translate. You just get it. It clicks. That's fluency. So today, over the next 20 to 30 minutes, we're going to walk through some of the most essential phrasal verbs for daily life, work, and travel. I'll share some of my own embarrassing but funny stories from when I was learning them, and I'll also give you practical tips to memorize and use them with confidence. So grab your coffee, relax, and let's jump right in. I still remember the exact day I realized how crucial phrasal verbs really are. I was working in London, my first job there actually. I was still getting used to the fast pace of office life, the accent, and all the unspoken cultural rules. One morning, my boss came over to my desk and said, "Peter, can you pick up this task and hand it in by Friday?" I froze, completely froze. My mind was racing. Pick up? Hand it in? I looked at the papers on my desk, wondering if she literally wanted me to pick something up and hand her my laptop. I nodded, pretending to understand, but inside I was panicking. I didn't want to look foolish, so I just said, "Sure, no problem," and smiled. A few days later, she came back and asked, "Did you get round to the Johnson report?" I remember staring at her totally lost. Get round to? Did she mean the report was going in circles? Was it missing? Was I supposed to physically go around something to find it? Of course, what she actually meant was, have you found time to complete it? That day was a turning point for me. I realized that phrasal verbs weren't just decorative or optional. They were the backbone of English communication. They carry nuance, emotion, and clarity in ways that single words often can't. From that day forward, I made it my mission to really understand them. And let me tell you, once I did, everything changed. Conversations that used to feel like a blur suddenly started making sense. I could follow jokes, casual remarks, and even sarcasm. And more importantly, people stopped slowing down or simplifying their speech for me because I sounded like one of them. Here's how I like to think of phrasal verbs. Imagine riding a bike with square wheels. Technically, you're moving forward, but it's rough and uncomfortable. That's what English sounds like without phrasal verbs. It works, but it's not smooth. Once you add those round wheels, the phrasal verbs, everything flows. You glide. Now, let's take a moment to understand why phrasal verbs matter so much. English uses them where many other languages would just use one formal verb. For example, take the word cancel. Simple enough, right? But English speakers rarely say cancel in everyday conversation. Instead, they'll say call off. So the meeting was canceled becomes the meeting was called off. Notice how call off sounds softer, more conversational, and more natural. That's the magic of phrasal verbs. They make your English sound human, not robotic. And then there's meaning. Many phrasal verbs are idiomatic. They don't mean what the individual words suggest. Break down, for instance, can mean a car stops working. My car broke down on the highway. But it can also describe a person losing control of emotions. She broke down in tears. The same phrase, two very different meanings. And that's exactly what makes them so fascinating. They carry emotional and contextual layers. Learning phrasal verbs isn't about memorizing lists. It's about understanding patterns and using them in context. When you learn look up, don't just memorize to search for information. Use it in real life. I looked up the word in the dictionary. Then try look up to, which means to admire someone. I've always looked up to my father. Same base verb, completely different meaning. That's how English really works, through chunks, not single words. And your brain actually processes these chunks faster, because that's how native speakers think. All right. Let's warm up with a few everyday phrasal verbs you'll hear constantly in casual conversation. The first one, wake up. Straightforward. I wake up at 7 a.m. every day. But here's the twist. Waking up doesn't necessarily mean you get out of bed. That's where our next phrasal verb comes in. Get up. You can say, I wake up at 7, but I don't get up until 7:30. See how those two little phrases describe two separate actions? One is mental, becoming awake, and the other is physical, leaving the bed. Next up, eat out. This one means to dine at a restaurant instead of eating at home. For example, I love to eat out on Fridays after work. And then we have hang out, one of my favorites. It means to spend time casually with friends, with no real agenda. Do you want to hang out this weekend? It's such a natural, friendly phrase. Try using it next time you make plans. You'll sound instantly more native. Let's practice those three. Wake up, get up, eat out, and hang out. They may seem simple, but they're part of the foundation of everyday English. Once they roll off your tongue naturally, you'll start noticing how easily they fit into your daily conversations. Now, let's move into the workplace, a totally different environment with its own set of essential phrasal verbs. Office English is full of them, and mastering just a few can make a huge difference. The first one, get ahead. It means to make progress or advance, especially in your career. I hope to get ahead at work by learning new skills. Sounds great, right? It's ambitious but natural. Next, fall through. This one means something fails to happen as planned. Our plans for the team building retreat fell through due to budget cuts. You can use it for projects, events, or even personal plans. Our dinner plans fell through because of the rain. Then we have follow up. This one's super common in professional communication. It means to check or continue something after an initial action. I'll follow up with you next week about the report. You'll hear it all the time in emails and meetings. It's polite, professional, and proactive. And hand in. This one once confused me completely back in London, but now I love it. It simply means to submit something, usually a document or assignment. Please hand in your timesheets by Friday. Simple, right? But it sounds far more natural than submit. If you can master just these four, get ahead, fall through, follow up, and hand in, your workplace English will sound smoother, more confident, and more like a native speaker's. I want you to notice something. Phrasal verbs are like social glue. They make your conversations feel connected and alive. When you use them naturally, people don't just understand your words, they connect with your rhythm. Let's move now to one of my favorite areas,
travel-related phrasal verbs, the kind that transform you from a nervous tourist into a confident, jet-setting pro. Because let's face it, travel is full of unexpected moments, and phrasal verbs pop up in almost every single one of them. Whether you're checking in at a hotel, setting off on a road trip, or just looking around a new city, these small phrases can make you sound smooth, polite, and totally in control. Let's start with check-in. You'll use it every time you arrive at a hotel or an airport. "I'd like to check in, please," is what you say at the front desk or counter. It sounds simple, but it's powerful. It shows that you know exactly what to do. And of course, once your trip is over, you'll need to check out. That one's equally important. It means to leave the hotel and settle your bill. You could say, "We'll check out of our hotel at 11 a.m. But notice something interesting. Check out can also mean to inspect or take a look at something new. For example, "Hey, I'd like to check out these sneakers," or "Let's check out that cafe across the street." So one little phrase can help you both travel and shop. Pretty handy, right? Now, imagine it's early morning and you're about to start your adventure. That's where set off comes in. It means to begin a journey, to hit the road. You can say, "We'll set off early to avoid traffic," or "They set off at sunrise to climb the mountain." It has a sense of movement and purpose. It's that exciting moment when the journey begins. And then there's look around, another versatile favorite. It means to explore a place, to wander and take in your surroundings. We had an hour in Rome, so we looked around the Colosseum. Simple, clear, and vivid. When you use it, it paints a picture. You're not just visiting, you're exploring, observing, discovering. So, there you have it. Check in, check out, set off, and look around. 4 little expressions that will take you confidently from the airport to the Airbnb, from the museum to the market. Practice them out loud. Imagine yourself in those situations, and they'll stick naturally. Now, one of the tricky things about phrasal verbs is that they don't always follow a clear pattern. Some are what we call separable, which means you can place the object between the verb and the particle. For example, you can say, "Turn off the lights," or "Turn the lights off." Both are correct. Others, however, are inseparable, meaning the object always comes after the full phrase. Like run into, which means to meet someone unexpectedly. "I ran into my old friend at the market." You can't say, "I ran my old friend into." That would sound like an accident. To really master this, you need practice. But here's a good rule of thumb. If the verb feels like a physical instruction, like turn off, pick up, put down, it's probably separable. If it feels more idiomatic, like get along, run into, look after, it's usually inseparable. Keep a small list as you learn. Try testing yourself. Can I say, "Turn the music off," or only "Turn off the music"? Little mini quizzes like that will train your brain to feel what sounds right. Over time, your intuition takes over, and that's exactly how native speakers do it. All right, now let's move to something deeper. Phrasal verbs that express emotions and relationships. These are the ones that give warmth and authenticity to your personal stories. You might say, "I really get along with my new roommates." Get along with means to have a good relationship, to connect easily. But sometimes relationships change. We used to be best friends, but we grew apart over the years. Isn't that such a gentle way to say that two people drifted emotionally in different directions? Then there's open up, a beautiful and very human expression. To open up means to share your true feelings, to let someone see the real you. It's hard for me to open up about my fears. When you use that phrase, it shows honesty and vulnerability. And finally, We have cheer up, which means to make someone feel happier or to become more cheerful. I brought flowers to cheer up my sister. You can even say it as encouragement. Hey, cheer up. Things will get better. Each of these small phrases adds emotional color to your English. They help you tell stories that sound natural, not mechanical. Instead of saying, "We are not close anymore," you can say, "We grew apart." Instead of, "I shared my emotions," you can say, "I opened up." That's how you make English your own. You don't just speak it, you feel it. Now, let me tell you about one of my all-time favorite phrasal verbs, figure out. It means to understand or solve something, especially after thinking about it. I need to figure out how to use this new phone. I remember once staying at a hostel where the coffee machine looked like something from a spaceship. It had buttons, levers, blinking lights, pure confusion. I spent half an hour figuring out how to get it to work. I pushed, pulled, pressed random buttons, and spilled more coffee than I drank. Finally, I discovered the secret lever that made everything come to life. And in that moment, I laughed, because figuring things out is exactly how we learn languages too. Trial, error, curiosity, and persistence. Now, whenever I face a new challenge, whether it's technology, travel, or grammar, I tell myself, okay, time to figure it out. That simple phrase reminds me that problems are puzzles waiting to be solved. And here's a tip for you. Next time you face a small challenge, say out loud, "I'll figure it out." It's not just language practice, it's mindset training. You're teaching both your brain and your confidence to work together. Let's take a quick interactive break. Grab a notebook, a piece of paper, or open the Notes app on your phone. I want you to write down 3 situations from your real life. Something simple, like cooking a new recipe, dealing with a difficult client, or planning a weekend trip. For each one, choose a phrasal verb from today's episode that fits. Maybe figure out, set off, or hand in. Then, write a sentence describing your situation using that verb. For example, "I need to figure out this new recipe before my friends arrive." Or, "We'll set off early tomorrow for our beach trip." Take 3 minutes, 3 verbs, 3 sentences. When you're done, read them aloud. You'll feel how these small phrases bring your stories to life.
Now, let's talk about a few practical ways to lock these phrasal verbs into your long-term memory. The first trick is categorization. Don't just memorize a random list. Group them by topic: travel, work, emotions, daily routines. Then focus on one category per week. Make it manageable. Maybe even use colored flashcards: blue for travel, yellow for work, red for emotions. On one side, write the phrasal verb. On the other, write a short, real example sentence. The second trick is active listening. Whenever you're watching a TV show, listening to a podcast, or scrolling through YouTube videos, pay attention to phrasal verbs. They're everywhere, and hearing them in context helps you absorb them naturally. When you catch one, pause for a second and think, what did that mean here? How could I use it myself? That tiny pause builds your instinctive understanding. And the third trick, maybe the most fun, is practice with a partner. Find a friend, classmate, or even an online language buddy. Give each other simple prompts like describe your weekend plans or explain how you'd fix a broken computer. Then challenge each other to include at least 2 phrasal verbs in your response. Laugh about mistakes, correct each other gently, and celebrate when one of you nails it. That kind of interactive learning is golden. It makes English social,
alive, and memorable. Let me share one last story before we wrap up. A couple of years ago, I volunteered at a music festival, helping backstage with the production crew. The stage manager shouted, "Peter, can you run through the lighting cues with the team before showtime?" My heart skipped a beat. Run through? I looked at the lights, then at my feet, thinking I had to literally jog across the stage. But then it clicked. Run through means to practice or rehearse. So I gathered the crew, we ran through the cues 3 times, and by the time the show started, everything went perfectly. That day, I learned not just a new phrasal verb, but a new mindset. Don't panic when you hear something unfamiliar. Listen, think, and figure it out. Because once you do, you've gained a powerful new tool for expression. And that brings us to the end of today's journey. I hope this episode helped you see phrasal verbs not as obstacles, but as opportunities. Small keys that open big doors in the English language. Remember, they're not optional extras. They're the building blocks of authentic communication. They let you describe action, emotion, and nuance all in one breath. So here's your mission for the week. Pick 5 phrasal verbs from today's episode, maybe wake up, hang out, set off, get along with, and figure out. Write them down. Use each one in a real conversation, a social media post, or even a short journal entry. Notice how people react. The smiles, the nods, the little moments of recognition when your English flows naturally. That's the feeling of progress. That's fluency in action. Thank you so much for tuning into English Uncovered. If you enjoyed this deep dive into phrasal verbs, do me a favor, subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with your language learning friends. And I'd love to hear from you. Drop me a message or a comment telling me which phrasal verb made the biggest difference for you. I'm Peter, reminding you that phrasal verbs are your passport to natural, confident English. Keep practicing, keep exploring, and I'll catch you in the next episode.